Okay. So just a little introduction, meaning first I want to say that understanding why you're here, if it is that you want to study in Canada and understand the know-how, want to get a grasp of what it is and the process you're supposed to take in terms of studying here in Canada, then this is the place for you. If it is that you're looking to solely work in Canada, this probably may not be the best, but you can also stick around because we do touch on a little bit of working in Canada. And we have resources provided at the end, so you guys can check those links out if that's something that you want. But this meeting is solely for persons, or mostly for persons who intend to study here in Canada as international students. So my name is Malika Thomas, and I am currently a third-year international student attending the University of Lethbridge here in Alberta, Lethbridge, Canada. I have been in Canada since 2019, I believe, which I spent most of my time going to school, obviously, working and getting an understanding of how the Canadian immigration system works, you know, what works, what doesn't. I've also had the opportunity to serve on multiple committees, to participate in multiple events, and be a volunteer to events and to committees here in Canada. I volunteered at the Lethbridge Food Bank. I currently at my university, I'm running for the international representative. I served before as the international president. So now I'm running for the representative of the entire university. So hopefully I can get all you guys in, because that's my main initiative, to get everybody that would like to come to University of Lethbridge, you know, make it a little bit easier for you guys. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, I don't know if my age matter, but I'm 20 years old. So pretty young, I would say. And yeah, also I used to attend Mergrove High School. For anybody here from Mergrove, bigs up to you. And that's really where my journey started in terms of, you know, coming here to Canada and being the person that I am today. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'll now turn it over to our second host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jaren Malcolm. I am currently a second-year student at the Northern Lights College that is located in the Dawson Creek community of British Columbia, Canada. I know that that's not a very popular province or city for everyone. And yes, for sure, I am attending a college in a rural community. I've been here since 2021. I'm in my second year now, and even though where I'm is not very entertaining or not very loud and outgoing like the larger cities, besides from that, I'm still experiencing the full Canadian experience. The Canadian culture and the Canadian lifestyle, it is still here where I am. As I talk about that, I'm also very involved in my school. I mean, as it relates to the international department, I was made a social media influencer for that department, as well as I'm a model for the marketing committee. So if you should go on the Northern Lights College website, or Facebook rather, you would see pictures of me as well as their Instagram handle. Besides from that, I participate in various committees such as the Student Refugee Committee. I'm a member of that. I'm the communications officer for that. And I'm also a GuardMe campus ambassador at the college. And also I just get involved in a lot of other things, such as I'm a tutor for the school. So I help students who are not very competent in various subject areas. And that's just about it as it relates to my involvement at the college. And I wanted to make note of this because even though I'm living in a rural community where it's less populated, you are still able to be involved and you're still able to be a well-rounded individual, just like the urban areas. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jorin. All right. So we're just going to get into our agenda. So we're going to talk about university and college application firstly, a visa application process, scholarship and funding process, after arrival, what to do after you get to Canada, on-campus housing, off-campus housing, and work in Canada. So if that's something that you really want to know about, stick around because we're going to get right into it. Okay. So before I talk about the application process in terms of applying for university and college here in Canada, it is important for you guys to know what to do in high school or whatever school that you're in right now in order to build your transcript. Because let's face it, your transcript kind of tells a lot about you, right? So I've had the opportunity to, come here and get to know what they look for in terms of your transcript. I went to the admission department I think 2 days ago to ask them what's something that they really look for and that stood out on an application in terms of your transcript. And these are some of the stuff that they mentioned. So activities, do all the activities. Join, if you can't run, still sign up your name. Join a club, join a sporting activity, even build your own club if you have to. I had to do that in my school because there wasn't any club for me. But build a club, be somebody who is influential, that stands out, because that's something that they look for in terms of your application and in terms of your transcript. So do something that makes you stand out. Get involved in campus life, join student council, become a prefect if you are able to, run for form captain, class monitor, sports captain, cheer captain. If a school has a pageant, join the pageant. Join these events that, as I said again, stand out on your transcript and your application. Participate well with teachers because they write stuff about you. If you do bad, they're going to write that you do bad. So if you do good, they write that you do good. This matters. And a lot of times when we're in high school, we think that it doesn't matter, but it does matter. They ask to see these stuff, and if they're on your report, they ask to see your final report. If it is that it's on your report, trust me, they're going to see it and going to be like, I want this person. So consider that, take that into consideration. Obviously, maintain your grades, of course, like have to maintain your grades in order to get to the university you want to go to. And volunteer, even if your school doesn't offer that volunteer service. I'm not sure if this is still a thing, but I remember like before CSEC that you had to volunteer in order to like graduate. But if not, try to volunteer outside of school, like go to a girl's home, a boys' home, whatever home it is. Volunteer in these services, be a part of your community, and provide a service, because in order to get to where you want, you have to give service, right? Okay, so that's, I do encourage you guys to hold your questions until the end. So write them down, grab a pen, a paper, write down your questions that you have and hold them until the end. Yeah. So there's steps you need to take when applying to study in Canada. Firstly, you need to research the province that you want to obviously live in. Research the school that you want to go and that has the qualities that best fit you. So in terms of the tuition cost, if it is that you're looking for a school with a more affordable tuition, then you have to research that. Go on the school website and do some research for those stuff. If they have scholarships available for you and the amount that they have available for you, some schools offer a specific number for international students, some schools doesn't. So you have to research and get an understanding of where you stand in terms of what school offer what. Okay, even if it is that you need to send an email to talk to somebody on the admission committee, then that's something that you have to do. Look for minimum wage in terms of your province, like look which province you think if you can work a specific hour and how much you would make. That is something that's super important that you should look at. I know, I'm not sure about British Columbia, but I know for Alberta, our minimum wage is $15 an hour, which is one of the highest minimum wage in Canada. Next, so step 2 is that you have to check IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, to see if your school is a designated learning institution. This is extremely important because if your school is not on this list, then one, you won't be able to apply to it as an international student, or even if you apply to it, because I heard about somebody who applied to a school that wasn't DLI and they weren't able to stay in Canada afterwards. They were told to leave because their degree does not reflect that of an international student. So that's something that you have to look out for if your school is on that list of designated learning institution. I will provide that list later on for you guys to go ahead and look at. If your school, when you're researching, you have to look if your school is there. You have to apply to at least 5 different schools. You can't just apply to one school and think that, okay, well, this school has to take me. It doesn't work like that. Apply to 5 different schools in 5 different places that you want. Even if it is that you want to apply to solely Alberta, there's multiple universities in Alberta that you can apply to. If it is that you want to apply solely in Ontario, there's multiple schools in Ontario that you can apply to. After acceptance, there is the visa process. There lies getting your study permit and the visa process, which we'll get further into after a couple more slides. So taking right along. So I've taken the liberty to provide you guys with the top 10 universities that has the highest acceptance rate. So when you're researching school, you have to make sure that their acceptance rate is, for international students, is high, because if their acceptance rate for international students is extremely low, then it limits your chance of getting into that said university. So for example, I know that University of Toronto is a very desirable university for a lot of students, but the reality is that their acceptance rate for international students is extremely low, because it is a prominent university here for domestic students. So if it is that is your desire to go to U of T, I would suggest probably apply to a college, get accepted in that college, and then you can try to transfer afterwards. But here's a list. I'll quickly run through the list. Concordia University, which is located here in Alberta. You have Gulf University, which is located in Ontario. Memorial University in St. John's. University of Winnipeg in Manitoba. University of Saskatchewan, I can never pronounce that province, Saskatchewan, which is located in Saskatoon. We have University of New Brunswick, which is located in Fredericton. We have Ryerson University, which I heard is a really popular university for international students. So if that's something that, you know, that name kind of stood out for you, and it's there. They do have a high acceptance rate. I think their acceptance rate is of 80%, and they're located in Toronto. Then we have Lakehead University, located in Thunder Bay in Ontario. We had Wilfrid Laurier University, located in Waterloo. We have also, lastly, but by no means least, the University of Lethbridge, which is my university, which we have an acceptance rate of a whopping 93%. And I'm trying to make it a little bit more easier for you guys. So with that acceptance rate being 93%, and I'm trying to facilitate, you know, easier ways and path for you guys to come in. So let's just move along here. Okay, so as I mentioned before, designated learning institution is extremely important. So what you asked, what is probably wondering, what is DLI, or what is designated learning institution? Well, this is where the provincial and the territorial government approves a university to accept international students. If your school does not have this, then it's by no means what you should apply to, okay? So if they don't have it, do not apply for it. You won't be able to get a PGW. You won't be able to get a postgrad work permit. And as I mentioned before, it may result in you being deported. Okay. So the best time to apply, a lot of persons always ask this question, like, when is the best time to apply? And my biggest suggestion is try to look at the school's website. They tell you the deadline, it's right there. The deadline is very specific and it's there. Try to apply at least 3 months in advance to that deadline. But now with COVID going on and there's a lot of uncertainty, you know, we're living in a time where it's super unprecedented. I suggest trying at least 5 months before. I think that gives you enough time to apply. Yeah. Don't be like me or wait till the last minute. Sometimes it never works out, but I was fortunate enough that it did work out. However, because COVID is going on right now, there's a lot of things that's going on in Canada that's really creating this friction. So I do suggest that give yourself more than 5 months or 5 months the least to apply. You know, you need enough time for your visa process because it does take some time, obviously. And if it is that you get rejected or you get denied a visa, then you can reapply, you know, in terms of like if you have minor issues on the first application that you had, you are able to reapply if you fix these problems. Arriving in Canada, you need to arrive early to settle and to tour the place to get an understanding of what is where and how it is going to work for you in terms of like going to school, what bus to take, you know, what route to take, what route serves better. And I don't know if you like scenery, if one route is more full of more scenery, like there's specific stuff, but coming to Canada early to tour, so applying early gives you that time. And as I mentioned, COVID restriction does put a lot of restraint right now on everything. So it gives you more time to get familiarized with all the restrictions that a specific province has, because for every province it's different. Because obviously the provincial government are setting their own rules in terms of the law. And the last one is to get to meet new people and familiarize yourself with cultural differences and way of living, because obviously, let's face it, cultural shock, a lot of times persons don't think that cultural shock is real, but it is really real, especially if you're going in a place where you don't know anyone at all and it's hard to meet persons. Like in a smaller city, for example, if you're there, it's a little bit more challenging in terms of meeting people from your culture and from your background. So I do suggest like apply early so you can get here on time to meet people and to get to know everybody and to know how and where to go. I can repeat again for persons who are just joining. I do suggest that you hold your questions until the end, and then we have a question section where you can ask all the questions that you want to ask.
Okay, so hello again, guys. I will be now discussing what you do after your acceptance into your choice school. However, before that, I just wanted to mention that Malika, you did mention that you were sure of the minimum wage in BC. Currently, the minimum wage in British Columbia is $15.20. That's currently what it is. Okay, so moving on. So after you get your letter of acceptance, now this is really the process of coming to Canada. This is where everything comes into play. I think that this process would probably take the longest just for you to get a feedback. But ultimately, what you do after your acceptance letter is that you're now going into the process of applying for your study permit, your student visa. Now, before you do that, you must need to gather the supporting documents needed to apply for the visa. Because as you would know, or some person may not know, but in the process of applying for your student visa, you will also need to submit some or upload some supporting documents that would basically determine if you'll be granted the visa or not. Now, you have to gather these supporting documents. Now, these supporting documents, it comprises of a whole lot of different varied documents. However, there are some very important ones that as international students, you must have in your application. Firstly, I must say that the bank statement, that's a very, very important one. I think that would probably be one of the most or the main important one. So for the bank statement should reflect the amount normally for you to cover 1 full year of your academic life in Canada. the embassy needs to make sure that you're able to shelter the expenses for at least 1 year. If the bank statement can reflect that you can shelter more than a year, then that is perfectly fine. You are in a good state. If that's the case, kudos to you. Now, this statement normally reflects for anyone who is sponsoring your school expenses. So it may be your parents. It can also be your relative. It can also be it can be anyone in general who's basically sheltering these expenses. You may have a friend who is going to sponsor you. It can be anyone, but the bank statement is very important. Now, also, you need to do a police record for yourself. I don't think that this changed, but when I had to come here, I had to do a police record. That is basically giving a background or a criminal check, a background of my criminal record. In Jamaica, the government, they do need to ensure that they are not inviting any students who have any criminal background or illegal activities in their home country. So that's very important that you do the police record. Also, you need to show job letters. The job letters may be for yourself or for the persons who are sheltering your expenses, like your parents or your relatives or anyone I said, anyone who is basically going to assist with your finances. They need to show a job letter. And this is important because the embassy needs to know how is it that these persons are able to shelter expenses. What job are they doing in the home country? What are they doing for a living? How much money are they able to work with the job that they're doing? How are they able to sustain you or to finance you? So this is where the job letter comes into place. Now, also, you most definitely need to show your school certificates, your diplomas, or your transcripts. This is basically any form of document that connects you to your education back in Jamaica. You can get this from your high school, any college you've attended. If you have attended any universities there, then you need to show these. The transcript is very important. So Malika did touch on that. As well as the school certificates, it may not necessarily only be certificates that shows your grades, but anything that shows your involvement in the college, in the school or high school, wherever you went, that's very important. Also, when you're applying for a student visa, the letter of acceptance you get from the choice school that you chose, that should also be in the application process. That is one of the main important documents that you should have. The government is going to ask, how is it that you're applying for a study visa? Where is the acceptance that you got from the school you applied for? So that letter of acceptance is very important. Now, of course, you need to have your passport. That's another important document. So as you can see, as I'm going by, all these documents are very important. I don't think that any of them would probably be more important than the other because they all handy. The passport is very important. One thing I must say is that I recommend that your passport is not going to expire soon. No, I was in that situation. I was in that dilemma because my passport, I think I only had a year left before I applied. And it was the recommendation of my travel agent that I renew my passport just so that when it expires and let's say I do get the student visa, when it expires, I don't have to come back to Jamaica to renew it again while I'm there. So it's best that your passport has at least the minimum years you'll be studying for in the country. Now, you need to also prove certification for any licensed assets that you have. This is basically any documents and legal documents that shows your personal assets, your personal belongings. It can be your vehicle registration, your vehicle license. It can also be your work license if you are a nurse, if you are a doctor, if you are a pharmacist, if you're a teacher. Any of those certifications that shows your assets is basically anything that shows your ties to Jamaica. Now, your assets are your ties to Jamaica, and I must say that's one of the main reasons why persons get declined or rejected of their student visa is because they are not proven enough ties to their home country. And in that way, the government of Canada, they believe that after you do your student visa or your study here, they believe that you're going to stay in Canada and you want to run off to Canada because there's nothing for you to go back to your home country to. Now, believe it or not, even though Canada is very underpopulated and they need persons, it is still important for you to prove your assets to your home country. Okay, moving on. Okay, so let's get into the visa process. So I did mention before that you have all your supporting documents gathered, all the documents that is necessary for your application. Now you can basically start the application process, and this is really the visa process, as some persons will call it. This process, believe it or not, it may take the longest to receive a feedback. And of course, that's understandable because it is the duty of the Canadian Embassy to take the time as they require for you to get your student visa. Now, there are several steps that you go through during the visa process. Now, firstly, I recommend that you connect with a travel agent or a company that is able to give legal advice during the application process. So you connect with a travel agent or someone who can legally guide you through the application process. What I did use Trafalgar agent in Jamaica. There are several branches. Besides from that, you have several other institutions or companies designated to assist with this, like the Visa Hub of Jamaica. Now, I recently heard that someone is doing the application on their own. I do not recommend this, guys. I mean, like, you may think that you're competent enough to do it, but I don't recommend this at all. I think you should have a travel agent. Also, while you're going to answer the questions on the application, I recommend that you do not lie on the questions. Please answer the questions with accuracy, because believe it or not, the Canadian government or the embassy, they have a way of pinpointing lies. They know when you're telling a lie, basically. You can try to add up the story, but everything would add up to them. So try to be as accurate as possible. Upload all your supporting documents. I must say that the more documents that you have, it's the better off for you. The documents I mentioned before, they're very important, but I think that the documents that proves your assets and your bank statements, those documents, I think that those ones are very important, because they have to see that you're able to finance yourself, and they have to see that you have ties to your home country. Those are two main reasons why persons get rejected. Okay, so after this, if you have not done your biometrics for Canada previously, then you will need to select a date to complete your biometrics. Now, as it relates to myself, I had a Canadian visitor's visa before, so I never had to do my biometrics. So just to be clear, the only way you need to do a biometrics is if you never did it before. Okay, so you need to select a date for the biometrics, and then you'll go to do your biometrics on this time. The biometrics is basically you doing your fingerprints and taking photos of yourself. It is a part of the application process. Doing the biometrics does not mean that you'll be granted the visa. I mean, persons can do the biometrics and they still don't get called for the visa. So this has nothing to do with the process, trust me. Now, after this, you're basically in the waiting process. Now you're waiting for the response from the Canadian Embassy. This response will determine if you'll be granted the visa or not. And I know a little trick to this. So what I have observed previously in the past is that if the embassy takes longer than 2 weeks to respond to you, more than likely they will be giving you the visa. And that is because if they know that they're not going to give you the visa, they're going to respond to you straight away, probably after a week or 2 weeks the most, and say, you will not be granted the visa. If they know they're not going to give you the visa, they're not going to wait until a month after to tell you. I mean, that's a waste of their time. So if the process takes about 2 weeks or more before they respond, then more than likely you will be getting the visa. That's a little trick that I found out. Okay, moving on.
Sorry, I just want to jump in here and mention something real quick that you were talking about. I applied myself, me and my mom. So it's a hard process, but it's possible. It's not impossible, because I know a lot of persons, in terms of affordability, using an agent isn't always the best way to go, but you can apply yourself. Also, the biometrics, she's so right with that. Like, if you do it, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the visa. But you can apply again and you won't have to do the biometrics. It does, I believe, last 5 years, right? 5 years?
10 years, I believe. Well, 10 years. It lasted in fact 10 years for me.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'll just shut up now and let you move on.
Okay, for sure. Okay, so scholarship and funding process is a very important topic that I think students, they always rely on these financial assistance before coming to Canada. And now, without a doubt, I know that coming to school here in Canada, it is very costly as compared to school in Jamaica. And that's also just because of the currency, the difference in currency. But as it relates to that, believe it or not, you can get scholarships or funding before you enter Canada. This was a mistake that I made personally because when I came to the college, I was just introduced to the college and I was excited. I was eager to come. I never even knew that there were entrance awards that the college offered or that there were entrance awards offered by the government of Canada in general. And because of that, I did shelter all my expenses. That's a mistake I made, but I wouldn't want others to make that mistake just because I know how costly it is to come to school in Canada. So now the process of applying for a scholarship, it starts from your home country. As I said, before you enter into Canada, you have various resources that you can apply for scholarships. The government of Canada, they have several entrance awards that they offer to different schools and to different programs across Canada. Now, what I recommend is for you to go on their website or to subscribe to their website rather. So any updates that they give with regards to these things, you're able to see the updates and you can scan through all the awards that they have for entrance of international students, look at the eligibility requirements, see if you are eligible, and just make a note of those things. You can also check with the school. The school itself that you are planning to come to Canada with, they normally have entrance awards for international students. My college had, but I said before, I was not aware until I am here now because of my mistake. And also, you know about different loans or financial assistance that you can borrow from your home country. For example, the Student Loan Bureau, you have several other banks and lenders that they lend money to persons to go to school, they lend loan to persons. So these are just some things that you can do to sponsor yourself before you enter Canada. Now, as it relates to arrival here in Canada, after you come to school, there are numerous campus scholarships, awards, and bursaries that you may apply for at your institution. I don't know of any school, any college or university in Canada where they don't offer different sponsorships or awards to students. So it is important that you look out for these emails from your colleges when you get here. Look out for the different notices, and while these scholarships are posted, try to apply for them, the ones that you're eligible for, of course. Apply for more than one of them. Just especially in January, I applied for a total of 8 scholarships. That means I must at least get one of them. Okay, so if you apply for more than one of them, you must get at least one of them. Now, there are also different competitions that your school offers that you can participate in, and some of these may be monetary awarded. Participate in things. It's very important to be involved in things. Even if you're not getting an award for these competitions, when you participate in different things and you're involved, the school sees that you're a very involved person, and probably at the end of your graduation, they may award you with something because of your involvement and your well-roundedness. So these are some things that you can do as it relates to coming to Canada. I think you muted, Malika. I think you're muted, Malika. Oh, yes.
There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so there are some do's and don'ts that you need to know before coming to Canada. And even being here in Canada, please take all your required documents and keep them in a safe enclosed folder. It is important to have all your documents because at any given time they would send an email saying, oh, well, this was something that's missing from your application or missing from your file. Could you bring it in? So that happened to me once I got here because I came before my CAPE results came out, and I had the certificate, but I never dropped it off. I just sent a picture of it, but they need the real thing. So I walked with it, thankfully, and they sent an email saying that they need it. Register for your courses as soon as they open. The moment you get accepted and you start the visa process, once the registration portal open, register for your courses, because as a first-year student, you're vying for, for some schools, their minimum class is like 300 students for a first-year course, for a first-year class. I know for my university, the minimum was 299, which is 300. So yeah, there's a lot of persons coming to the school. So you need to, there's person from all over the world and person from within Canada as well. So you need to apply as soon as possible or register as soon as possible as their course is open, because then you won't get into the classes that you want and it can like hold you back. So you have to also get your there is a course requirement list. So pay attention to that when you're registering for your courses. Check your email regularly, because as Jordan said, that there's stuff that you will miss for like in terms of entrance awards. Similar to her, I missed that email in terms of entrance award, where they sent me an email, and it wasn't until I got here, probably like 2 months after that, I saw the email. They were awarding me $10,000 to come to school here, and I missed that. So I don't want you guys to miss that at all. So check your emails regularly. Check it. There are don'ts. Do not lie on your application forms. On any form that you fill out, do not lie, because then obviously lying doesn't lead to anything good. Do not provide your personal information, such as your SIN number, your ID number, and your debit or credit card, or your banking information to anyone. Don't give it to anyone unless they're a legit employer or your university requires these documents, or you're doing your taxes. That's the only time you want to provide these information. Don't give your stuff to anybody. There's a lot of scam that is going on. They will call and tell you your full name, tell you your age, tell you where you're from, and then ask you to provide your entire SIN number. They probably even have the last 3 digits of your SIN number. But do not give anybody your SIN number over the phone. It's not legit. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm briefly going to talk about after arrival in Canada, what are the different things that you need to do after you come here? Before I do, I just want to quickly answer one question that was asked during my previous presentation about the scholarship. So Monique Lee, she wanted to know if she has a scholarship offer, but she wants to know if the money to cover her or pay her tuition, if it still needs to go into her account. Now, what I suggest is that if it is that you will be able to receive a scholarship offer before you apply for your student visa, I recommend that you put it in your bank account, just because the more your bank statement is, the better off it is for you. So if you're able to get that money, because I know that some scholarships, they don't give it to you personally, they hand it to the school directly, they don't give it to you directly. So if it is that they're able to give it to you directly, then I would recommend that you take it, put it in your bank account, and apply for the bank statement. So the bank statement is more, and you apply for the student visa, it is better off for you, because it's a better chance for you to get your visa when you have more money in that case. Okay, so moving on. So after you come to Canada, there are a few documents that you need to acquire as an international student. Now, Malika did mention before about the SIN. The SIN is a social insurance number. In Jamaica, it's like your TRN, your taxpayer registration number. Every legal citizen in Canada needs to have a SIN. Once you are here as a student, as a worker, as a permanent resident, as a citizen, the only persons who do not have a SIN are visitors, I believe. You need to have a social insurance number. It's a very important piece of document. This number is very private and personal to you. You don't hand it out to anyone over the phone except for your employer, because of course you'll need to do that when you're applying for jobs. Before you apply for jobs, as a matter of fact, in Canada, you have to give them your SIN first if you have gotten it. You also need to apply for your provincial ID. Your identification card here in Canada is very important. You will need your ID to apply for several other things in Canada, such as your credit card. If you need to have a credit card in Canada, you have to have your ID. Also, you may apply for your driver's license if you require one. I know some persons, they're really not interested in driving, and that's totally fine. But if you need to have your driver's license, then you can apply for one. That is if you already have your license from Jamaica, because if you did have your license from Jamaica, then you'd only need to do a test to basically transfer those points from Jamaica to here, so you would not have to go through the learning process here in Canada again. So yes, if you did it from Jamaica already, you just do the GDL5 test. Then after passing, you will trade in your Jamaican license for a Canadian license. Now you need to also apply for your provincial health insurance. Your health insurance is very, very important. I must say that here in Canada, healthcare is not free at all, my dear. I know that as international students, I think upon matriculation, you are automatically enrolled into GuardMe or a private health insurance. The school basically helps you to get into that because you're only eligible for your provincial health insurance until after a certain while. For BC, it was 3 months. I can give a personal experience that I had an infection and my health bill, I had to see the doctor for about 4 days. I had IV treatments, IV therapy, and I had to see the doctor for almost a week. And for each visit, it was $300 and something for each visit. So in total, it was 1,000 something, almost $1,200. So if I never had the private insurance at the time, then I would not be able to. Well, I could pay for it because I was working, but it's just so costly. So you need to apply for your BC health insurance or your provincial health insurance when it is possible. You also need to open a bank account. If you're going to work in Canada, you need to have a bank account because the workplace is going to ask for your bank details to transfer money to you if you don't want to receive it by check, that is. So these are just some important documents that you need to have upon arrival into Canada. Besides from the documents that you need to have after you arrive in Canada, there are also some important things for you to do. Now, after you get here, I know that you're going to be in the process of meeting new people, just getting along with everyone around you, trying to get comfortable of your environment, trying to be aware of different places, where different places are. Now, the most important thing, or one of the main important things, is that you need to start job hunting. You need to start looking for a job. We're going to go into this more in depth, but as international students, you are able to work. So you need to start job searching. I do recommend that you send applications to multiple business places. In addition to that, you also need to connect with people who are able to help you along your journey here in Canada. No, I'm not saying that you should basically shun anyone. You need to be friendly and nice to everyone, but there are some people who you can pinpoint that they can be of help or very influential with your journey in Canada. So connect with those people. It may be your school advisors, your teachers, your lecturers, different persons. It may also be different Jamaicans here who have been here for a while, who have gone through the process already. They may know more as it relates to experience. So connect with these people who are able to help you or guide you along the way. Now, you also have to be aware of your financial status and make a budget. Now, as it relates to coming to Canada, I know some persons, they may be frightened because here in Canada, they can easily order KFC, easily order Burger King. They can easily order pizza for dinner. You don't have to cook like Jamaica. So I know that you may be excited that here, cost of living is probably more prevalent, or you have more privileges here as compared to Jamaica. Despite all of this, please make a budget and know your financial status. If you know that you have to pay for your rent the first day in every month, or you have to pay for your tuition the first day at the start of classes, put that one side and don't trouble that money. Know your status and make a budget and try to follow that budget as soon as possible. As soon as you're finished with your study, then you can go and live the nice high life for sure. But the important thing is that you finish your study, complete your study appropriately, and don't make any debts.
Okay, so on-campus and off-campus housing, I am going to talk about off-campus housing, and Jordan is going to talk about on-campus housing because I've never lived on campus since being here. But in terms of what I know is that on-campus housing would be something to speak to your admission advisors about, or your international advisor at your school, because it can be a little bit more pricey than off-campus living, but it definitely provides you with food. Like they do offer meal plan. So if it is that you or your child like can't cook or can't really do certain stuff for themselves, I would suggest on-campus housing. They do provide meal plan and other stuff as well. But as it relates to off-campus living, it's way more affordable in that case. And if it is that you require something, there are certain apps that you have to use to search for these housing. For example, there's an app called Kijiji, and I'm pretty sure people use Facebook Marketplace everywhere, but you can use Facebook Marketplace, or there's specific marketplace for your city. So it's different every city that you go. Having a roommate can be a pro and it can be a con. In terms of rental cost, it can be super cheaper. And the con is that probably you don't like to live with people. Also, you have to take in consideration that, yes, they say that Canada is all beautiful and loving and whatever, but there is housing discrimination that takes place. And I wouldn't want you guys to experience that. I've experienced housing discrimination before when house hunting. So in terms of that, like you have to be mindful where and what company you're using in terms of looking for housing, your apartment, or if it is that you want to do a host, get a roommate, or you want to do like a basement suite or a main floor suite. You have to be mindful in terms of who and what company that you use. So that's it for off-campus housing.
Okay, so I could briefly go over on-campus housing. I do believe that this differs based on where you're living, because I know here at Northern Lights College in Dawson Creek, we basically have to do everything for ourselves as it relates to cooking and preparing our various meals and stuff. I guess there are different factors to it. I mean, different places have different policies and so forth, but there are definitely different pros and cons as it relates to on-campus housing. One of the advantages, I believe, is that you have better security of where you're living. You have better access to the services of the college, quicker access as it relates to that, easier transportation to the school, to your classes. So instead of having to wake up and rush to make breakfast, to do whatever, to get on a taxi or to travel to your college, you can take a little while, just wake up and get dressed, just walk over to your classes or the college. As it relates to security, the dorms have security there, so that's more security protection for you. Also on campus, it mainly comes with furnitures. So I know some off-campus places you have to go ahead, it's unfurnished basically, you have to buy your own furnitures for some of them, that is. But I know on campus it comes with furnitures, even though the furnitures are not to your style or liking, but it's just like the basic way of living. That's an advantage in a way. Advantage, however, is that you share the apartment with others if you choose that plan. I mean, living on your own is going to be more expensive on campus. So they're basically different advantages and disadvantages. It depends on what you want personally and depends on your liking. As it relates to cost, here in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, I personally see that on campus is less expensive than off campus, just because off campus, you may have to pay for additional payments like Wi-Fi, water, electricity, AC, all those things. It depends on the place, but what students do is that it can work out for you if you have some friends that you're comfortable living with. Persons here in DC, what they do is they move to a particular house or apartment with their friends, and they split the rent between each of them. So ultimately, each of them are paying less money for a higher living lifestyle. So they're still being able to be more comfortable because the place is more comfortable to them, and they're paying less than dorms because they're splitting the rent between their friends. That's a good thing to do. If you find persons that you're comfortable living with, then for sure you can do that as well.
Right. In terms of off-campus living as it relates to rent, for certain, like as mentioned, for rent, like it varies based on the province and the city that you're in. If it is that, like for me here in Lethbridge, it is more affordable to live off campus than it is to live on campus. On campus, they're paying 1,000 something for a little space, but it does include meal plan for a month, and I'm paying $600 a month for my own place. But so it definitely varies every province and every city. I know, like if you go to like larger cities, for example, Edmonton, Toronto is super expensive. So it obviously it's different there in terms of like the budgeting for the province and what the provincial government set. If it is that you're going to a private institution, some universities, if not all, are private, or they're private institutions. They're not covered by the government at all. Okay. So let me just give me a moment to. So work in Canada as an international student. So there's things you need to know before you work in Canada. Obviously, we've mentioned before, you must have a SIN number in order to work. Every employer who is legit requires this. So you need to have your SIN number. You can, as mentioned before, you go to Service Canada and you get that. There is also a link at the end, I believe, for Service Canada to get your SIN number once you arrive. As an international student, you're only required or allowed to work 20 hours per week off campus during school terms. If you exceed that, you are in violation of your study permit and may risk yourself being deported or your stay. You know, right away, Canada is not going to be checking on you 24/7, but the moment you start to apply for your PR or your postgraduate work permit, that's something that they definitely look into. However, you are permitted to work more than one job to make up this 20 hours. So if you are only allowed 14 hours to work at one job, you can make up the rest at another job. I did not mention it here, but I'm going to say that you can work on campus while working off campus. And I believe you have unlimited hours to work on campus. But the reality is there's not much to do in terms of working on campus. So the hours is still not even going to be 20 hours. So, but you can work on campus and off campus outside of exceeded the 20 hours. So if you work 20 hours off campus, you can work whatever hours you're working on campus as well. You are allowed to work as a full-timer during scheduled breaks. This means summer breaks, winter breaks, midterm or reading week breaks. So you're allowed to work more than 30 hours. So you're allowed to work as a full-timer during that time. The moment school start back, you have to drop back down to a part-timer. You cannot work as a full-timer while going to school. You cannot work during the break that comes before school. This is something that is extremely important, and a lot of persons think that the moment they get to Canada, they can start working. I helped this young lady come to Canada. She's now in Toronto, in Brampton, going to Humber College. So I assisted her during her application. But the moment she got here, she called me and she was like, "Oh, I'm here." And I went to the mall and I saw they're offering this job to work at Steve Madden. I want to work at Steve Madden. And I was like, "You can't do that. You risk getting sent back home. You can't work before your semester starts. You have to wait until September 5th, whatever year it is. If your school starts September 5th, some schools start different time. But you have to wait until the semester start before you start to work, because if you do, you are in violation of your permit. Now, your permit has a list of work that you cannot do. You need to pay attention to this, as it is different and it differs for everyone. For example, I know that on my study permit, it does say, which I have right here because I didn't want to lie, but it does say, I believe, sex work. You cannot work. I cannot work as a sex worker, obviously, which includes childcare. I cannot work in primary or secondary education schools. I'm not allowed to work with elders or persons with disabilities. My permit does not say that, but some persons' permit do. So you have to pay attention because it differs for everybody. And it does tell you what you're allowed to work, where you're allowed to work as well. So pay attention to that. The moment they give it to you at the airport, staple it to your passport and keep it. So some persons' permit does not have work conditions. Some persons' permit does not say that they can work specific places or at all, because sometimes they require for you to take a medical, and some persons don't get that requirement or aren't asked to do that. I was one of the persons that they didn't ask to take a medical. But mine still had work conditions on it. But some persons doesn't. As I mentioned before, it differs for everyone. You will need to do so. You can get it removed or you can get work conditions added, but you'll need to do so before getting a SIN number. So the moment you arrive and you see that on your permit, that you get it and you settle in the day after your land, call IRCC and let them know what's happening and try to get that sorted out. You cannot stop going to school and continue to work unless authorized to do so. Meaning, you cannot just decide to go drop out of school and just work because they make more money. That is not okay. You're not authorized to do that. You're putting yourself in jeopardy. So you cannot work unless you're going to school. Unless it's scheduled break, unless you're going to school, that's the only time that you can work. You cannot work if your study permit expires. Once your study permit expires, you're either required to go back home or to apply for a postgraduate work permit or just a general work permit if you have already graduated, a PR or citizenship. Now, persons, in terms of your postgraduate work permit, I definitely suggest that the moment, like, your program is supposed to end in July, start applying for your postgrad work permit in April, the earliest. Because it does take a while, and IRCC, they take 10 years to do everything. So you need it, as I mentioned before, you give yourself time for these process because you need it, and you get denied, you can try again. So give yourself some time to try again. If it is that you would like to work in a job that is not authorized for you according to your study permit, you can apply, as I mentioned before, to change these conditions. All you have to do is either give IRCC a call or send them an email. Go on the website. They have different portals for you to venture through and go on and get it sorted out from there.
Okay, so I'm briefly going to mention what working in a rural community is like. I did state before that I am living in Dawson Creek, British Columbia. That is one of the smallest cities in British Columbia and Canada in general. Now, firstly, job hunting in a rural area, it might be significantly less stressful as compared to job hunting in an urban area. And just because in a rural area, it is less competitive, but I'm going to go into that further. Before I do that, I'm just going to state some tips for working in a rural community. These are some things that you need to keep in mind if you want to work in a rural area. Now, first, you have to research the minimum wage in your province just so you can have an idea of what your pay is going to be like. This doesn't necessarily apply to rural communities, but anywhere in general they're going to work, it's important that you can know what the minimum wage is like. When you know this, then you're able to have an idea of the minimum pay that you can get anywhere if it's a legitimate workplace. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting this set amount. you may get more than the minimum wage, but this is the lowest that you can get. Now, you can also ensure that your resume is outstanding and that it displays all the skills and qualifications that you uphold. Now, one important asset or part to every application is your resume. Some jobs, they do not ask for the cover letter or the application letter. They just go straight into asking for your resume, and you may have to fill out a form, but the resume is the main important things. Your curriculum vitae, I think. Now, ensure that your resume, the skills match the skills required by the workplace, and the qualifications, try to make them match, try to make the skills match. In some cases, you may not have the skills that they need, but if you have like some of them, or it's just important to try and convince them that you can do the job or you're eligible to do the job effectively. Now, also, even though in a rural area, it is less competitive, you still need to apply to numerous places at once. And it has pros and cons to it, because even though it's less competitive, it's actually more competitive in a way, because it's small, it's a small community. You have less business places as compared to an urban area. And because of that, it's basically less places for you to apply or to work. So apply to numerous places at once. Another thing you can do is you can connect with persons who have done similar jobs as you are applying for. Connect with Jamaicans there, see different business places that they've applied for, see how the different business places are. If you know persons on your dorm or your housing who have worked at such place, try to get a feedback of the working condition or the working environment there. And in that way you can have a feedback of what the various business places are like. Now, you should also consider the distance of your potential workplace or where you're considering to work from your home, and you need to make the possible means of transportation. You are basically doing this so you can think about how you're going to get to work, if you're going to walk, if you're going to drive, take a train, whatever. You need to consider these things while you are looking for a job. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the benefits. Okay, so the benefits of working in a rural community. Now, Malika did mention before that as an international student, you're allowed to work 20 hours during school periods, and you can work full-time, overtime, or anytime during holidays and breaks. Now, in a rural community, there are different benefits to working there. One is that it is less competitive, as I mentioned before. I mean, it takes less time to acquire employment than an urban area. And that's just because you have less population there. So it's less populated. In that way, you have less persons applying for a particular job. And that gives you a higher chance of getting the job when the job application stream is lower. Now, transportation to and from work is going to be less expensive. And by this, I mean that in rural communities, everywhere is close to each other, or everywhere should be close to each other, or getting to work or getting to somewhere is not going to be as far as living in an urban area, because urban communities are much bigger. So in that case, transportation in general is going to be less expensive. Even if you're going to walk, even if you're going to take a cab, if you're going to take the train, if you're going to drive, it's going to be less gas, less everything. As it relates to transportation, it's going to be less everything. Now, you also have more affordable cost of living. You may be wondering what this has to do with employment. By this, I mean that in a rural area, the cost of living is probably going to be more affordable, just because in rural communities, you have, what should I say now? You basically have less of everything. You have less persons competing with as it relates to shopping, as it relates to acquiring your payments. What should I say? I mean, like your payments from work is probably going to be higher salaries for more in-demand jobs. So because of that, it's more affordable for cost of living as it relates to living in urbanized areas, I mean, like the rent is going to be less. The shopping may be the same, but I know for sure rent is going to be less. Transportation is going to be less. Different things that you need money for is going to be less in a rural area, sorry. So the cost of living in general is going to be more affordable or less. I know Malika did mention that if you are living in Toronto, the rent is going to be more expensive. And that's just because Toronto is a very big city. So the bigger the city that you go into is the more money that you will need to pay for different things. It's the more cost of living. Okay, you also have more job opportunities in a way. I know that this may seem strange to you, and more job opportunities may come from urban areas, but in rural areas too there are, because you have less persons trying to get into jobs. In that way, you have more opportunities for you to get into. You also have higher salaries for in-demand jobs. So in rural communities where you have less persons, then you will have less then you will have less competitions or less persons, less occupations or careers, basically. So you have less nurses, less doctors where I am living now. I mean, the hospital, if it's a very severe case, they have to fly you out to a larger city, probably Calgary or Grand Prairie. That's the reality of where I'm living now. So this is because you have less doctors, less nurses, everything. So for jobs that are in demand here in rural communities, you get higher paying salaries for those jobs.
Okay. So working in the urban areas, and by no means Lethbridge is urban, but it is one of the largest cities in Alberta. I think it's the third largest city in Alberta. So tips for working in the cities. Sorry, I had to think about that a little bit because Lethbridge to me, in comparison to like Calgary, which is I think an hour and a half or 2 hours away from where I am right now, it's really minuscule. Anyways, so you need to create a resume that shows why a company would want you to work for them, obviously. Provide previous work experience. Include all your hard skills and all your soft skills. If it is that you have no work experience, which I'm pretty sure for persons who are coming out of high school and jumping right in, my advice to you is start right now to volunteer, as mentioned before. Volunteer in service. Try to add all those volunteer service. Try to add all your stuff, all the things that you've done in high school. So if it is that you were a prefect, a student council rep, whatever it is, add it to that resume, because then it shows that you have that capability to lead and you have that ability to, you have that ability to perform in a company. And I think that's more helpful because you have no job experience to put on your resume, but definitely your participation in school definitely shows who you are. I've worked as an assistant manager for the Aldo Group, and I've seen a lot of resumes, especially from high school students, and some of them are really scanty, and that doesn't want us to hire you at all. So I do advise that you do a lot of sporting activities, get engaged in your campus life, do stuff that can build your resume, because 3 lines on a resume is not it. Nobody's going to look at that. Apply for places such as the mall, Walmart, Shoppers, like apply to multiple places, and these places that I just mentioned, these are easier places to get into in terms of work. It's easier in terms of they're always looking for workers, especially Walmart. They're always looking for people to work. So that's a good place to start. The mall is a good place to start. It has multiple stores. You can start to apply there. As I mentioned before, I've worked as an assistant manager. Make sure that when you trying to apply, don't just apply online. A lot of persons sit home and go on their computer and apply online. Applying online doesn't guarantee you getting a job, because let's face it, 9 times out of 10, we don't have the time to look at that. So I do suggest that you walk in, go to these places and apply, drop off your resume. And when you go, make sure that you're your best self. Where, if it is that you're going to apply to, for example, work in Steve Madden, make sure that your shoes look very fashionable, your purse look very fashionable, because the reality is a lot of persons don't tell you, but we definitely look at these things and we write on your resume what we think about you the moment we see you, because first impression definitely lasts. Be respectful when you go in, wear proper clothing, because obviously they might say, okay, well, are you available right now for a job interview? I can interview you right now on the spot. Be prepared, always be prepared. And as I said before, walk into these walk in and apply, walk in and drop off your resume. It shows that you're determined for this job. You want this job. It shows that you're not lazy. So I do, that's something that I never knew until I got here and started to work. I recommend that so much. Also, pay attention to your province minimum wage and pay attention to your pay per hour. Some companies take illegal advantage of how many hours you're allowed to work and pay you less than the minimum wage, which is wrong. So you have to pay attention to that. $15 for me in Alberta is the minimum wage. What was the minimum wage in British Columbia? 15.20, you said?
Yes, 15.20.
Right. So it differs everywhere. So you have to pay attention to that. Some companies definitely pay you more than the $15 per hour. But $15 per hour for Alberta is the minimum. Be mindful of your situation. If it is that you're caught up in any illegal thing and legal action is pursued or taken, you may just jeopardize your stay in Canada. You probably won't be able to remain. Be aware of certain jobs and how legit they are. Some jobs are Ponzi scheme. There's Ponzi schemes that run like as a legit company. They have their space, they call you in for interviews, but you have to be mindful. Ask around, ask persons who, try to Google as much as possible these websites, even if you have to just type in, is so-and-so company real? Is so-and-so company fake? Because too often people get caught up in these stuff and it's not a pretty look. Okay. So the benefits of working in this city, there's more available public transportation, i.e. trains, bus, Uber, cabs, even scooter, which may sound not ideal, especially for the winter time. Like, who wants to be riding a scooter all around city? But in the summertime, it's definitely, it's something fun to do. People just do it as leisure, but I see people taking it to and from work. It's all around the city, very accessible. If you need to go here, you can use a scooter. May sound weird, but it is true. There's much more options in terms of jobs to choose from. Obviously, bigger city, more job opportunities. Employees are better understanding due to the fact that they've most likely worked with an international student before. A lot of persons are managers and stuff like that. They don't understand that you can only work 20 hours and sometimes deliberately give you like 25 hours, allowing you to go over your said hours that you can work. So that's a plus. Bigger population, thus it is easier to meet and to gain links. Yeah, links, you have to have links here too as well. So that's why you have to go out, meet people, spread your wings, get involved in different activities. I don't know if you probably, they have like paint nights or comedy nights. Go to one of those events, get to know people, because it definitely will provide you with big opportunities. Even if it is that you're at work, even if you're working like retail, try to be friendly with people, because it provides opportunity. I've met someone who, had my best interest at heart and various, like, looking out for me in terms of my desire to pursue law. So there's ways to meet people so that you can move up to get more pay faster and a better job. Even after you graduate, these people are still looking out for you, and a lot more opportunities. Yeah. Oh, before we get to the resources, be on time. Like, that's what it may sound cliche, but Canadians are always on time, be on time. All right, so these are some resources that you can go ahead and use. I can let.
Okay. Oh, I want to talk about this particular page. Okay, so the EduCanada scholarships, I did mention previously, if you remember, about the various entrance awards that you can get prior to coming to Canada. Before you come here and before you apply for your student visa, you need to research the different scholarships available to you. Trust me, there are scholarships out there. The Canadian government, they do have scholarships out there for international students before they come to the country. That's the link right there. You can copy and paste it somewhere or take a picture of the name of the website, EduCanada Scholarships, and research these scholarships, go through the listings. Besides from that, you have the Government of Canada website. The website there also gives lists of scholarships, and the website is also a good resource for various things. I mean, everything related to Canada is given on the website as it relates to the immigration policies now. Because of COVID-19 and whatever, I mean, like the different restrictions now, everything whatsoever is on the Government of Canada website. It also gives listing of job opportunities. So please utilize these resources. And I also give a link to the application of a social insurance number. I mean, you will not necessarily need this until you reach Canada, but just so if you need it, then that's the link to it, so you can use it.
Right. Also, I want to mention too that if it is that you go on a Canadian website and it says .com, probably like 8.5 times out of 10, it's not Canadian. Most Canadian official website has .ca instead of .com.
Same. Yeah.
Also, I've mentioned about the designated learning institution list. It's right there for you to go and view if your school is a part of that list. There's a link for jobs, so you can go ahead and search for the type of jobs. So persons here who aren't necessarily like looking to come to Canada for school, I provided that link for you to go and look for jobs in terms of if you want to apply for a work permit. That's a very resourceful link for you to make use of, because like, why not? Okay, so now we are here at our question section. I do advise that you raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged before opening your mic. Please be respectful and mindful of others' inquiries and concerns and questions. And remember, no questions are foolish. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing, and then you can just raise your hand if you have any questions, and this is the time to ask whatever you want to ask and to get to know whatever you want to know. I do have a question in the chat, but it was sent, I think, via direct message. The meeting right now is recorded or recorded. I can do a little recap because someone was asking about details high school. So as I mentioned before, you have to build your transcript. Make sure you participate in events that will or activities that will build your transcript, and maintain your grade, obviously. Participate well with teachers, get to know your teachers so that they can write good about you. But those are a couple of things that you want to make sure that you do, applying to tertiary education. Any questions or concerns? This is the time. Okay, Asian, go ahead.
Hi, can you confirm that you're hearing me, please?
Yep.
Awesome. So I have a question. So say I am currently at UTech, right, in my second year, and also they're in the final process of filing for me. So basically, I'll be getting my citizenship soon. Would it be a case where I can transfer my credits, or I can transfer the credits from the courses that I've done here to a university over there, or I have to start all over?
Yes, so you can transfer your credits. It's possible to do that. So you'll be coming as a transfer student instead of an international student, because you mentioned you're getting your citizenship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you will be considered a transfer student instead of an international student, but you can definitely transfer all your credits, especially if you've graduated. Even if it is that you've done CAPE, if you've done CAPE, you can transfer those credits as well.
All right, thanks much.
Yep, no problem. Sorry, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Ephraim. Hi, afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm currently in fifth form, about to do CSEC, right? So I was wondering, which is the best time to apply for scholarships to study in Canada? And before you answer this question, which is best, to study in USA or in Canada, even though you're in Canada?
Okay, if I'm being honest, I did apply both to the US and to Canada, but what I found is that schooling in the US is extremely expensive. The cheapest tuition that I could find for a university was $35,000, and that was the cheapest for an international student. And the minimum scholarship that they were awarding me was less than 3/4 my tuition fees. So applying for, even though you can get full ride scholarship depending on your grades and stuff like that is definitely possible. But applying for school, I know that tuition fees in the US is more expensive than it is here in Canada. I know for schools here in Canada, the minimum I found was like $19,000 for school, for universities, but for colleges, I think they're cheaper because the programs are shorter. The best time to apply for a scholarship, I would say I suggest trying to apply for schools first and then go on the school website or Edu Canada, the scholarship website that we provided for you, and see what scholarship is being offered there. I know that they offer scholarships specifically for Caribbean students. I'm not sure if there's any specifically for Jamaican students on that website, but there's definitely scholarships for Caribbean students that you can apply for. And I think it's best to do that once you got accepted into school, because you don't want to waste that scholarship money that you receive if you get the scholarship and you don't get that get accepted into school. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Yeah. Do you want to add anything, Jordan?
Okay, so what were you saying again? No, as it relates to the tuition cost for colleges, it is less expensive for the colleges. Here at Northern Lights College, most students are paying $10,000 for a year. $10,000 is what most students are paying for a year. However, there are tuition that is less than that, because you have different programs that are for 9 months that are certificate programs. I know the healthcare aid program here is only 9 months. You have different certificate programs here that should be less, so it depends what you're doing, but you can get a program for 2 years for $10,000. So it's less cheaper here at colleges. Okay, so Melissa Jackson, you can go ahead and state your question.
I just want to jump in here. You have to be mindful too of the program that you're applying to. You have to because find details. They will say, okay, well, the program is 24 months, but you can't get a postgraduate work permit after that. You would have to leave after that. So you have to be mindful of the length of the program and what the fine print is saying. All right, you can go ahead now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Melissa.
All right, so you guys are hearing me, right?
Yeah.
Jaren, yes.
Yes, so I am currently pursuing a bachelor's at UWI in final year. So more than likely coming to Canada to study would be more of a master's degree. You guys can give me some insights on the master's programs at both of y'all universities?
Okay, so Malika, you have to talk about, yeah.
Okay, so for master's program, I know my university does offer master's program. My cousin, she came from Jamaica, and a friend as well, to do their master's program immediately after graduating from UA. So they do offer it, but I would suggest, master's program are really expensive and it is super competitive. So GPA, it has to be over 3.0. Anything less, you won't be able to get into that program. It is super, super expensive in terms of that, but they do offer full scholarship. My friend, he got full scholarship to attend my university to complete his political science master's degree. But the application process is still the same. It remains the same. But in terms of, just applying for the school, that's the only thing that differs. But in terms of the visa and the study permit application, it remains the same. I don't know if that answers your question, or if you want to ask anything else, I can definitely try my best to answer it as best as possible. Melissa.
I think that would cover it, because I'm currently, I was more so focused in Toronto, because that's where the people that I know, that's where they're based. But it's not a big issue of mine to study somewhere else and then move further, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I do know that the master's programs are extremely expensive. But do you guys do your university? I have a few masters that I'm interested in: health admin, leadership, and HR. You school do that?
My university, I know they do health admin. I'm not sure about, and HR, definitely. The Dillon School of Business for my school, they definitely do that. I'm actually close friend with the HR president. But in terms of Toronto, I know York University in Toronto is a good program, or a good school to apply for your master's program. It is on the more expensive side, just because it's Toronto, everything is there over there. But they do offer good programs. And I think in terms of like cultural diversity, if it is like something you're looking for, somewhere where you can have a community, they do have a huge community of Jamaican students. So York is a good school. I know also University of Calgary, they definitely offer those stuff that you were talking about. I'm pretty sure. So you can definitely try to apply to that school as well. University of Alberta as well, but they are super expensive, just to be mindful. Yeah, I'm not sure if that answers all the questions that you were asking.
It does. Thank you.
Okay, great. I saw that Shanti had but she put it down. Did you still want to ask a question, Shanti? Not sure if she's...
No, it's okay. I sent it in the chat.
I think she typed the chat.
Okay, I'm going to look at the chat and then I'll get back to the hands that are up. The question is, are CXCs accepted by universities in Canada? I've heard that some don't. CXCs are definitely accepted in Canada. For the US though, probably not. For the US, I know they require that you do, what is that test called?
SAT?
SATs, that. I know that, yeah, so for the US, you have to do SATs. But for Canada, no,
yeah,
they accept CSEC and CAPE. The next question was, is it harder to get into college or universities without a high school diploma? I'm not sure for college. Jordan can go and answer that, but for universities, they're not going to accept you. I'm pretty sure. You can try, but it's really rare that they accept people without a high school diploma. If it is that you can at least try to get your CXCs, if you have your CXCs pass for sure, but without a high school diploma, it probably caused some friction and it probably a little bit more challenging. But definitely, by all means, email the school that you want to apply for and ask them. But I'm not sure for colleges.
Yes, for the same for college, it's going to be very hard for you to get accepted. I mean, like the high school is what schools mainly look for, how you perform in your high school. But I believe that what you should do is if you have a college or university in mind, I recommend that you reach out to them, communicate with them, and have them tell you the requirements, have them tell you what it is that you can do so that you can prepare accordingly before you come here. I know that it also depends on the program that you're wanting to come into, because some programs, such as trades program, they may not necessarily need a whole lot of C6 subjects, probably just maths, English, and probably a minimum of 5 or so, as compared to a program under health. So it depends on the program. So if you know the program you're wanting to come into, speak with the school admissions officer and have them tell you the minimum requirements and have them tell you what is it that you can do. And if you need to get some subjects, you can go and do some evening classes. If it is even 4 C6 subjects, do that, but connect with the school first and have them let you know. But more than likely, they will not accept you if you haven't done high school, because that's basically from primary school. So no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it probably be a little bit more challenging, but you, as Jorin mentioned, you can reach out to the admission officers. I was administrative, but the admission officers or your international advisors, and they will better be able to advise you as to what to do. But more than likely, it's going to be a no. Hopefully that answers your question. Ephraim, you can go ahead now.
So based on what you guys are saying, CXCs are accepted in universities and colleges in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
to be accepted, basically you have to have extremely good CSET grades and a good transcript that would better my capability of being accepted by a college.
I'm not sure if we made it clear, but like universities and colleges are different here in Canada. That's why we're taking turns just like speaking. It's completely different.
Yes.
For universities, to answer your question, yes, they take CXC passes, and I would they on each website they tell you that what the average requirement, the average that they require for the school. So for most universities, 70% and over, in terms of that. Some schools do take 65 in terms of university. But if it is that you know that you have a 65% percentage in school, make sure that you do other stuff to build a transcript, as I said, because then it makes you stand out from other people. Jorin, I don't know if you want to answer that in terms of like for college.
Yes, most definitely. As it relates to college, it is a little bit different because colleges, they may accept a lower pass rate as with universities. That's just because the college level is less difficult than university level work. College is basically a transition from high school to university. So because of that, it will not be as competitive as universities. So they may accept a lower pass mark than universities. However, as it relates to my college, I believe that as long as you passed the subjects in CXT or CAPE or whatever, as long as you have the pass mark at least, then they will consider you for sure for the program. So it's just less competitive for colleges.
Thank you. I would like to pursue health. I want to become a doctor, right? So by any chance, any of you guys do health? Any chance?
I don't.
Okay, well, yeah.
I don't know. What about you?
Well, actually, I'm not doing health, but I must say that if you're wanting to go to the medical school, there's no direct entry from Jamaica into medical school here. If you are wanting to be a doctor in Canada, you first have to do a bachelor's degree. I think that's either from your home country, well, in Canada, that is. And that's the thing about Canada. Even if you were a doctor in Jamaica, it is not recognized here in Canada. It's not accredited. You have to start all over from scratch in Canada. If you're wanting to do medicine, what I recommend is come to Canada and do a bachelor's degree in a science-related field or in any field if you want, but science-related field is recommended. And then you can transition into doing medicine after you obtain your permanent residence. So you have to be a permanent resident or a citizen in Canada to do medicine. However, there are other programs under health that you can do as an international student. That includes registered nursing, I believe, pharmacy, dentist, yeah, different health things, nurse, practical nurse, yeah. But as it relates to being a doctor or having a PhD, you have to be a permanent resident or a citizen.
Yeah, for the health department, like in terms of schooling, I know for some schools it starts from college. So you do have to do like 2 years in college and then 2 years in university to obtain that, if it is that you started at a college. But it's most likely that you have to start with a bachelor's degree, and that's where you take it, then you take it from there. But doing a bachelor's degree, as Ryan mentioned, in any science-related field can definitely propel you towards your medical career that you desire. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. I have one more question. I don't want to hold you guys, but I have one more question.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead.
You said for CAPE, the credits are transferred.
It can be. It's
can
not
be transferred.
Yeah, but it's not all schools that take it, but it can be transferred if you've completed 2 years, because then it's been recognized as a full, the 2 years is recognized as a full year of university.
Yeah, so it would better my chance for a school, for a university that accept CAPE credits?
I don't think it will better your chance, but it will definitely allow you to get into your required field that you want to get into, in terms of like if you apply to get into, I don't know, chemistry, and you did 2 years CAPE chemistry, better, it gives you a better chance. But like to get accepted, probably not. But that's what I know in terms of universities, that you can transfer that, because it does count as your first year, because it's in the Caribbean, it's recognized as an associate degree.
All right, and thank you guys. Yeah,
no problem. All right, I see the chat going off. Okay, you've been answering. Wait, sorry. Is it the same for law? No, for law you'd have to do, I'm doing law right now. Well, I'm working on my LSAT. You have to do an LSAT in order to get into law school. You can do your diploma or certificate in college in criminal justice and then do your LSAT and then apply to law school. But because you have to do a JD, which is a Juris Doctorate, which is kind of the basic level for a law degree, and then you move up from there. But yeah, you'd have to do an LSAT regardless of where you're coming from. For the US and for Canada, it's required, or it's necessary that you have to do an LSAT. And trust me, it's not easy. I'm sorry if I'm going off on a rant, but it's not easy. All right, do you have any information on pursuing studies in the business field? Can you expound on that? Like what are you looking for in terms of the business field? Are you wanting to do like HR management, you know? I'm not sure. HR management. There's many programs, but I feel like if it is that you want to do business, probably a college would work for you, because it will be cheaper, and then you can, when you do the college, you can apply for your PR after you do your 2 years, and then you move on to university to complete the next 2 years to get your bachelor's degree. I don't know if you want to go ahead and answer that as well in terms of college.
Well, yes, actually here at Northern Lights College, you can do we offer several business programs. Firstly, we offer a diploma in business management, diploma in health administration, business management. We have offer post-degree diploma in business management, several business. We also offer associate of degree in business, and I recommend that you consider doing the business program at a college like my school here, because the tuition is just $10,000 for a year, and you can do 2 years, which are university transferable courses. So then you can transfer those courses to a bachelor's degree. In that way, you don't need to do the full years of the bachelor's degree. You only need to do the remaining 2 years. So that works out best for you because you would pay less money instead of having to do 4 full years of bachelor's degree at a university and paying so much money. So for the first 2 years, you pay less at a college and just transfer the credits to the university.
Right.
If you want to have, yes, you can research on Northern Lights College website, and there you can see, I'm going to write the name of the college here, and there you can see the different programs that it offers as it relates to business.
Right. Sorry, before I go to Asian's question, I want to backtrack a little bit. For the person who asked about like science, I just remembered my university they have the better, because I think there's another school above us, but we came second in terms of the science program. I don't know if that's something interesting you want. I know the acceptance rate for international students is definitely high. You can try to do that in terms of if you want to do science, but if it is that you don't want to be in Alberta, because I know pretty sure nobody don't want to be here, but you can apply. I know McMaster's University in Toronto, they have a great program. I think they are the university that is above us. And Ryerson University, they do have good business programs that I know about. So let me get to Asian's question and then I'll jump back over here. So Asian asks, do either of you guys' university have any programs for construction industry? Colleges, I do suggest, is the better place for construction industry. It's more hands-on. University, I believe everything is theory and everything is theoretical, and it's less hands-on than a college would be, because they're more on the, what do you call that? Like, I mean, you do stuff. They're more on the practical side of stuff. In terms of university go in depth with the theory instead of you doing.
The practical, yeah.
Right. So colleges do more practicals than universities, unless you're in like the science field where you're conducting a lot of labs. What about Northern Lights?
Well, yes, actually we have several trades program, and to be honest, they don't study in a classroom setting where you have to take notes. They mainly study in a setting where you have the instruments they're going to work with. Their classroom setting has all the resources needed for that particular course. So most definitely it is a lot of practical here. I know even for the aircraft and maintenance program that we have several aircrafts that students practice on. It's a lot of practical. So if you want to look into that, then you can. I did post the name of the college in the chat. It's Northern Lights College. Go there and you can look at the different. And also, if you guys want to reach out to me about the college on the other slide from now, then we'll show you the different email addresses if you're interested in either of the colleges or universities that we are offering.
Just want to clear up for everyone real quick that bachelor's degree, while some colleges offer just a minuscule of a bachelor's degree, just small programs, universities are the place to do your bachelor's degree. Colleges are
that's true.
Your diploma or your associate or a certificate. You have to go to a university to obtain your bachelor's degree. I think that question was answered already. All right, so Katie, please forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Please correct me as well too.
Good evening, everyone. It's actually Kaidi. It's fine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. Do you know what skilled and unskilled jobs in Canada are in demand?
In terms of, okay, if I'm being honest with you, jobs in demand in Canada is, they say there's a lot, but there's not really, because these fields are really concentrated with persons, and there's so many university students with bachelor's degree that are not able to get into any jobs. While Canada is seeking persons from the outside, the reality is that they just want to build their population and that there's not much jobs in demand. And that's the reality that they don't want to tell you guys. But in terms of skill jobs, I would say right now, mostly
health workers for sure. Health workers.
Customer service, anything like customer service base is really in demand right now because of the pandemic. And obviously, as Joanne mentioned, health service, they need travel nurses and they pay really well in terms of travel nurses. But that's it, to be honest, for what I know. But I know there's not really much in terms of like job opportunities because they want persons to populate their country, because let's be real, Canada is not that populated, but there's still not much jobs readily available for us, if I'm being really, really honest.
So in terms of the education sector, it's not really in demand.
What I know based on our education program, for persons who are wanting to work in the education system, it's really hard. They have so many backtracks of what do you call that, practice teachers that are yet to get jobs because Canada is an aging population. There's so much elders that are still within these jobs, still holding up space and not retiring, and that's a problem in terms of the education system that I know. I did a course called Sociology of Work, and that's something that we talked about. So in terms of education system, there is jobs, but not a lot. I would suggest probably like if you're doing like elementary school, and universities, but for secondary school, it's extremely hard based on what I know and based on my research that I did. But depend on your qualifications too. It can propel you further. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
It did, thank you.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Okay, so Shantae, you can go ahead now.
Okay, yes, good afternoon. So I think you mentioned that to get into law school, you need to take the LSATs, right? So that what you said?
LSAT.
Yes. Okay. So when do you recommend is the best time to do it? I plan to do in sixth form both years. So it'll be the best time to take it. Is there a specific time?
So you for the LSAT, I suggest that you do it after you complete either your associate or your bachelor's degree. I'm in my third year now of university, and I'm planning to do my LSAT come this December. So I suggest probably before you graduate, try to take it then, because then if you don't get the grade that you want, then you can take it after. But I don't suggest doing it in high school. I suggest waiting until at least you have your associate degree or your bachelor's degree, like in the making of your bachelor's degree, to take your LSAT.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Joanne, I see your man in the chat. Good. Okay.
I was just answering one question.
Yeah, that's good. Great. Are there any other questions? Please go ahead and okay. Michaela.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you so much for the information. Mr. Thomas, you mentioned earlier, because I'm interested in doing law as well, so I just wanted clarity. You mentioned that you're currently doing a bachelor's degree. Is that in law or something else?
No, I'm doing my bachelor's degree. So I have a major in sociology with a minor in anthropology. Unfortunately, my university doesn't offer law, but we do have a pre-law program that is connected with the University of Calgary and University of Alberta. But my university does not offer law as an undergrad, but you can do law as an undergrad. But in that sense, you don't need law to get into law. You can
Okay.
do any, that's a better way to put it. You can do any undergraduate degree and still get into law as long as you pass at LSAT, and you have a good GPA. That definitely counts as well. So maintaining a GPA is something important.
Okay, so after you complete the bachelor's degree, in addition to LSAT, then you are really qualified to pursue law. But
Right.
a first degree is definitely needed.
Right. So you need a degree because they do check for your GPA and they do check for your LSAT grade. In addition to that, you need other work experience, and you need experience in terms of like campus activity, like in your university, you have to participate in that. There's a lot of stuff that certain schools require. And I feel like there's the basic minimum for all school in terms of requirement is that they need a GPA to be at least at a 3.0. Your LSAT grade has to be in workings to their requirements. The lowest for some universities is probably 154, but most likely a 160 is the better average to work from.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
All right, great. Shantae, Jordan, I don't know if you wanted to add anything here, but you can, by all means, jump in at any time.
Yes, for sure. Well, not right now. I just wanted to ask though, Diane, she was asking what master she could consider in the business field that is in demand now. I'm wondering what job in the business field is in demand. I know as it relates to managers and those type of work, they normally go for persons who have experience really in the field. So as it relates to business,
I would,
as it relates to, you can teaching.
For business, I would say I think marketing right now is in demand because social media is becoming a big thing in terms of that. So more jobs are readily available for persons who are pursuing a degree in marketing. In terms of HR, I know HR for my province is something that is unusually still in demand. So those are two things that I know for sure in terms of the business sector that you can definitely get into with that degree from. I'm not sure where you got the degree from, but for sure, marketing, HR, anything of that sort, even like, because persons are looking for persons to, what do you call that in terms of like manage social media sites, even without a degree. Sometimes persons are looking for people to do that.
Yes.
So there's
even for my college, they look for social media managers. They're social media managers.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are jobs that you can look for. I want to also like backtrack. Psychology is becoming a big thing because mental health issues is what most Canadians talk about. So if it is that you're interested in psychology, I think that job is definitely in full swing, full demand. Everybody wants a therapist. Everybody wants a psychologist. My cousin right now here in Alberta, she's a psychologist and she's booked right up and she set her own price. You can open your own private practice. But I think psychology, I just totally forgot to mention it, but psychology is definitely a job that is in demand. Mental health aid workers, that is in demand as well. Shantae, you can go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering, so would it be possible to do my bachelor's, I think you said, out here and then complete the rest of my years in Canada?
Yeah, you can do your bachelor's and then transfer to Canada for your master's degree or for your JD, your Juris Doctorate. I think you're mentioning law, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you can definitely do your bachelor's in Jamaica and then transfer here to do your master's.
Okay, thank you.
What is the requirement to study psychology in Canada? It's the same as any other program to study besides medicine and besides law. It's the minimum requirement. You need to have either your it's not post-secondary, but secondary. If it is that you have post-secondary, a post-secondary degree or certificate as well, that is definitely a part of it. But for every school, their requirement is different in terms of their average, in terms of the certain documents that they require. Some schools take CAPE, some schools take CSEC only. But you have to look on your on the school that you want to apply for website. And what about the college? Is there psychology offered at the colleges?
Psychology, yes, we do have several psychology programs here, but I don't think we have a specific diploma in psychology. The psychology courses, they are connected to other diplomas like social work. So we have a diploma in social work, in health administration business, a diploma in healthcare aid. We have practical nursing diploma here where you can be a practical nurse. So I think the psychology programs, they are connected to those, but we don't have a specific degree or diploma in psychology. We don't have that.
Right.
But we definitely have the courses, yeah.
Right. I know Lethbridge College, they have Lethbridge University, which is where I go to the University of Lethbridge, and then you have Lethbridge College, which is on the other side of town. But I know Lethbridge College, they do offer a diploma in psychology, but then you'd have to transfer to the university to complete that that degree. I know that some schools do offer that, but I'm not sure about every other schools. I know about the ones here in my province. I know, what's that school called again? Oh my goodness, I totally forgot. Mount Royal University. So they definitely offer that, but they're a small university, and I think it's easier to get into as well. So you can definitely check them out. They're located in Calgary. You can check them out as well, and you can do your degree there. But it's the same requirement. I hope that answers your question, Kevon. Jaim, how many years would it take to complete a bachelor's in engineering? A minimum of 4 years. A bachelor's degree, 4 years. An associate degree, 2 years, probably 3 years, depending on how long you decide you want to take. But for a bachelor's degree, minimum 4 years, and for an associate degree, minimum 3 years. Do they offer associate degree in engineering? I think that's solely
at the college they don't.
Yeah, I think that's solely degree. Certain like psychology, law, engineering, medicine, those stuff are solely bachelor's degree that they require, the minimum requirement. So you have to look into getting a bachelor's degree for engineering, I believe. Don't quote me on that though. Shanti, you can go ahead. You can go ahead now. Jaim, I hope that
I forgot to lower my hand, my bad.
Oh, that's okay. Are there any other questions?
No. There aren't any other.
Okay. Okay. So I see Shanti's first. You can go ahead, Shanti.
Okay, once again, so I know you said that it's recommended or it's best to take the LSAT after you get your bachelor's, but is there a minimum like age requirement or any requirement at all to take them?
No, there's not a minimum age requirement. Because you're
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're taking the LSAT through LSAC. So there's a different association that you have to take it through. There's a different governmental thing that you have to go through, so you're taking it through LSAC. But yeah, there's no age requirement. Hope that answers the question. Ifram, you can go ahead.
For the sciences again, yeah, for the sciences, you said that I have to do one sciences first, get a bachelor degrees in sciences, and I can move to medical school, right? But first I have to become a citizen or do my PR, you said? Something like that?
Yes, be a PR.
Yeah. So for that, for the sciences, to get a bachelor's degree in the sciences, do you recommend any the colleges? What colleges? I mean, universities or colleges that do you guys some there subject?
Recommend.
I can share my screen here and go back to the list, the top 10 universities that I mentioned with a high acceptance rate, and I'm pretty sure they most likely offer something in the science field. As I mentioned before, my university, University of Lethbridge, is the second top universities in terms of science course. To show you how extra they are, they have 2 different science buildings. So, okay, come on. Can get there. Okay, so this is the top 10 universities that I mentioned. They definitely have high acceptance rate, and also I'm pretty sure they do offer, they most likely offer science. So you can go ahead, take a picture of it, or if you want to write it down, you can go ahead and do so.
Thank you. I took a photo of it.
Yeah. But look at the acceptance rate, and then go on the school's website, look for the programs that they offer, and if it is that your tuition is a issue for, I'm pretty sure tuition is an issue for everybody, you can look at that. But I did work out the average. So this is the average between these top 10 universities, and the average is $15,000. That is the average for the tuition for these universities. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to go ahead and take it, you're welcome. Sorry, if anybody else wants to go ahead and take a picture, you can go ahead and do so before I stop sharing. I'll just give it like 2 minutes, probably like 5 seconds. Okay. Any other questions for us?
University of Canada West, is that a good university? Was it among the list that you just mentioned?
No,
University of Canada West.
I think they're mentioning, is that Western University? It's something Western University. They always like them always of this ad. I don't know if like on YouTube. I think it's Western University. Western University, I think. I think it's Western University in Ontario. I'm not sure about them, but I know their international tuition fee was a little bit more pricey than the schools that I had there. I think their tuition fee is $25,000 per year, and it's a little bit more pricey in terms of the schools that I've mentioned. But definitely it is a good university to look into. Yeah, I've gotten another message as well. Let me go ahead and do that. So somebody's asking me to share my screen. Let me know if you guys are seeing my screen when I share it. And somebody was asking to see
the list of universities.
Yeah, somebody was also asking to see the scholarship. Oh, I think I just passed it. Is that it? Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the page that we talked about, scholarship. I can also, I think I'll try to copy and paste the link for the scholarship. Are you able to copy the link for the scholarship website? Or taking like 10 years to get there. You guys can take a picture of it. I don't think I'll be able to copy it. But the top one that says Edu Canada Scholarship, that's a good place to search for the scholarship. That's the link for it. Let me give it a couple seconds. Okay. Okay, so somebody else is asking to see another screen for sure. Just give me one moment. About the visa. Okay. Okay, so that's the, is that okay? I think that's for the visa. Somebody was asking for that. Also, I'll just give probably like 5 seconds to take a picture of that. Okay. Is there any other?
I think someone else also.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying that Shanti was also asking how she can get access to the recording of this meeting.
I'm going to send the recording to you. I don't know if you want to post it on your social media sites, but I will try my best to do so. I'm pretty sure you guys had to register to get into the meeting. If I'm not mistaken. If so, if you did register and you put your email in, then I can go ahead and send it to you via email. If you did not, you can just direct message me right now, your email, and I can send it to you via email if that's easier for you.
Okay. I think Diana Heyman needs to send her email address because she was not able to see the screen that you were sharing and she wanted the list of universities. So
okay, I apologize for that.
Okay, she just sent the email.
If it is that you need the link and you didn't register using your email, you can send it. I repeat, you can send it now via direct message. Are there any other questions? I'll give you guys maybe like 2 minutes to send the emails if you need it. Oh, go ahead.
It took a minute for me to remember the name of the college a friend of mine is going. Is Western University. Is this the university that you mentioned? Malcolm. Whoa.
Oh, the college that I'm currently going to is the Northern Lights College. It's located, we have several branches, however, 2 main branches are in Dawson Creek and Fort St. John, British Columbia. Just to give a brief background, we only do associate degrees, diplomas, certificate programs. Those are mainly what we do, and we have lots to pick from. So if you're interested, it will be important for you to go on the website and have a look at the ones that they offer. Yeah, for you.
I think I mentioned Western University. I did mention Western University. It is, but when I was talking about the tuition fee in terms of the cost, it is $25,000 for international students, but I'm pretty sure they do offer good scholarships because they do promote their school a lot to international students. But so that's the school you're talking about, right? The one that's located in Ontario.
Yeah.
Right. It is a really great university, I believe. The only reason why I didn't put it on the list because it was a little bit more expensive than the schools that I've mentioned. But I do think it's a really good university. And I do think they have a good acceptance rate in terms of international students, because they do promote a lot to international students. I know a college that does will take most international students. Humber College, I did assist a young lady who was a past student of my school, my alma mater, Merle Grove, to attend Humber University. She just came in January. If it is that you want any information of that, you can send me an email. I will share our social media here. Let me know if you guys are seeing the screen. If not, let me know still. Yeah, so you can send me a message on Instagram. I will try my best to answer my DM if that's easier for you. If it is that you want to check out or use our email, you can go ahead and do that. And also check out my girl YouTube page. Oh my God.
Yeah.
She gives all the tips on coming to Canada and studying in Canada as an international student. So definitely check her YouTube page out. It's something to watch. Did that answer your question? If not, I can try my best to further answer it.
No, you answered my question. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
No problem. Is there anything else? Can I have a website link for see if I can get this here. Is there any other questions? Okay, if you don't have any other questions, I'm going to end our information session here. Thank you guys for coming. I don't have anything else to say. Otherwise, thank you. I hope and I wish you all the best in your studies. I hope to see you here in Canada on the streets. I'd be like, hey, okay, sorry. But thank you so much for tuning in. And why not give free information to all my Jamaican kings and queens? You know, you guys deserve to be here. I wish you all the best in all that you desire in life, all your endeavors. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for this. It really helped out.
Yeah,
I've learned a lot and how to approach studying overseas.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. If it is that you need more information or what we mentioned here in the session wasn't enough, you can send me an email. You can, I don't know, Joy, do you want them to email you if anything?
Yes, I actually don't have a problem with that.
Right.
On Instagram, it's our name, Jorin Malcolm. Yeah.
All right, then I'll there's a high chance that you guys will be hearing from me in your DMs and your Gmail. Right. So thank you guys again.
No problem.
Most definitely.
If you want to stick around to have a more one-on-one conversation, you can. But we're ending this now at 4:30. Well, what time is it in Jamaica? 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the best thing over there. The time you can wake up late and then you still have time to do things. I don't know why, but I love it. I love the fact that the time. So it's so good. And in the summer, all right, ranting right now. So guys, thank you and bye.
That's okay. Yes, okay.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Thank you again.
Alrighty, see ya.
Okay, bye everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, guys. And if you are here and you want to have a more one-on-one conversation with us, you can definitely open your mic anytime you feel comfortable, and we can have a conversation. I have some time. You're welcome. Asian, did you want to ask anything?